So welcome to Max Ottawa, one of our maximizer programs, Free Spirits. Our special guest this session is Tomás Power. And so Tomás, I'm going to ask you just to introduce yourself in relation to the book that we're studying as part of our group, the amazing book that you wrote, Queer Magic, just to start off, and then we'll get into the questions after that.
Sure. I'm Tomás Power. I wrote Queer Magic. It is an around-the-world adventure looking into queer history from prehistory to modern nights, specifically focused on the spirituality and how different people, different societies, cultures, and religions throughout the entire world have seen queer people. Queer people in all these cultures have seen themselves and the different representations and spiritual beliefs and powers and magic or lack thereof there has been throughout the world since we've been on it.
Great. Thank you, Tomás. So we'll get right into it with some questions then. The first question we have is, how long did it take you to write the book?
I can tell you exactly. It took exactly 9 months to write that book. Why? Because the contract I signed said I had exactly 9 months to finish it from beginning to end. Even though like books are, it's the entertainment industry and it's the arts. Publishing is very much a business. Very much a business. Publishing houses don't publish books that are good. They publish books that sell. And if they happen to be good, all the better. So I was received, at least I got my contract, said I had 9 months to complete it. But what helped me with all that, because of how dense it is, but dense in a fun way, is that, I've been studying this stuff on my own, trying to find queer representation throughout my entire life. So I kind of had a lot of the resources already. I kind of knew a lot of the stories. I just had to compile it back into an entertaining and narrative format, which was the most difficult part. But yeah, it took 9 months exactly.
Just like a baby.
It is my baby. They're my children out in the world.
Perfect. Thank you. The next question is, what were your inspirations for the book?
It was twofold. It's stuff that I was interested in because prior to Queer Magic, I had written my first book with Llewellyn, which was La Santa Muerte, Unearthing the Magic and Mysticism of Death. And it was a big hit, so much of a big success that I kind of got carte blanche to write whatever book I wanted next because it was assumed that it would sell. So with that, I was like, let me get this Queer Magic book out because I knew I'd have no pushback, no resistance for anything I threw out. And the second part of it is that you have to remember that the publishing companies are always niche oriented. So with Llewellyn, which is very pagan, mystical, spiritual. In fact, I picked Queer Magic at a cocktail party with my editor there, martinis in hand. And I was like, you know what? We were at PantheaCon, if all of you know what that is, a big pagan convention in California. And I was my first one there. And I thought, oh my God, there's so many queer people in the pagan community. And I thought, what if we write a book for them? Because we always have gay this, gay that, but where's the whole spectrum? Where's all the other colors? Where's everything else in between? My editor was like, oh, that's going to sell. That's a good idea. And that is an important book. Let's get it. Email me tomorrow so I remember this conversation. And it was born right there.
Nice. That's great. It's very serendipitous, it sounds like.
There's no coincidences.
All right. Our next question is relevant to the current time that we're living in. Are there any examples from the book that you've been using to comment on this specific moment in time, specifically relating to the COVID shutdown, feelings of isolation, etc.?
Yes, in a way, because the biggest thing is that if you look in the book and you read it, you realize how different everything is and all these different perspectives of things. And so what you consider truth, what you consider your reality, is your reality because you believe it's your reality. It's the way you see things. I mean, the film, the Kurosawa from Rashomon, what is truth? Truth is different depending upon your idea of the truth and your version of how you see things. Same thing, queer magic. I mean, you have these queer people, and everyone around the world sees it completely differently, even though they're the same people. So it all depends on where your viewpoint is, and you see things. I mean, you can make a heaven of hell, and you can make a hell of heaven. It's just
But
how you view things. And so I try to push of things are bad, but you have to look for the good things because good things are happening too. Same thing with good things. It's not all bliss. People out there are suffering. So just keeping that mental awareness of how do you want to see reality? Because that is your reality.
thank you for that. Um, the next question is, what's next? A lot of people, including queers, of course, are starting to turn to spirituality outside of organized religion. So is there anything that you're seeing starting to bubble to the surface?
Yes. A lot of people are looking for old traditional ways that I've seen a lot, where they feel that religion, whatever it is, whatever their beliefs is, whatever they grew up in all around the world, somehow modern times, like how fast and interconnected we are, everything gets kind of corrupted. And so everyone's looking for the more holistic, the more natural, the more bare bones version of their own religion. So it's a lot of looking back, which isn't always a good thing. But a lot of people romanticize the past. And it's like, oh, it was so much better then. Oh, before society got so complicated. And depending on which religion, which culture you're in, that is true, but that is also false. So, but a big trend of nostalgia and trying to look back rather than look forward as the best times of them all. So that's been happening a lot, at least that I've seen.
Thank you for that observation. What advice do you have on writing a book on queer spirituality?
Write a book that you want to write about. Because if you write a book,
Sorry,
because
there you go.
write something that you want to write about. Because if you plan to write something to make money or to get a message out, or you have some sort of agenda, it'll come through and it'll seem not insincere, but it'll seem, I'm trying to think of the word, not fake, but it'll just seem bad. um,
Manipulated, maybe?
just something, because you're trying so
Yeah.
hard to force a subject into a way that a lot of people can read it. But you also have to remember, publishing is a business. You have to, first and foremost, your ideas, you have to present it in a way that people want to hear it. You have to make it fun. Do people want to read a textbook, or do they want to read anything else? And know your audience. Don't try to be all things to all people. Specific down, narrow it, and then they'll find it. So just write the book you want to. And remember, it's a business.
I like that. Yeah, unfortunately, like everything. What do you think is the best way for guys into guys to practice their spirituality when we seem to live in a culture obsessed with material things, such as six-pack abs, circuit partying, social media, etc.?
I'd say look within, which sounds like such a cop-out answer when you say it. But no, but it's true, because a lot of people are looking for outward validation, especially when you've been queer and you've been told like you're bad or you're wrong. You're trying to find that way to fit in, or you go that extreme other way where like, I'm going to be a complete contrarian. They say I'm wrong, I'll show how wrong I can be. No. Just just accept yourself for how you are. But in order to accept yourself, you have to look at yourself. And a lot of people are really scared to do that because they'll see the darkness and they'll see the demons, and we all have them. And it's not a matter of exercising them, it's getting to a point where you can live with them, because they'll never go away. But once you can accept yourself like that, then you can go into the mysteries of the universe. Because woe is the person who tries to explore the mysteries of the universe but can't understand themselves. That way lies madness. So know thyself and really just be comfortable with yourself, and everything else is easier to understand because you have clear vision.
I like that. I'm glad we're recording this. There's some things I want to remember, and I can't take notes right now. Looking back on your book's world tour, would you do anything differently, and why?
Okay. Um, The biggest thing I would do different, well, there's two things I would do different. The biggest thing is that there has to be a page limit to the book. So I'm doing this around the world adventure. You cannot hit every single culture. You cannot go into super minute detail of every single culture that is mentioned. So I would like to, we had to cut stuff out. We had to cut out the people of Indonesia. We had to cut out Thailand, Siam. We had to cut out the brother girls and sister boys of Aboriginal Australia. Some of those we got into, but not as much as I would like to, but just have a second sequel to where I can continue it and get more. And the other part is this book was written like, it was published in 2018, but it was written in, I think, 2016, 2017. Lots of vocabulary has changed since then. So, but again, the hardest part of writing this book is that you're trying to describe queerness when there's no set universal definition of queerness, but you have to explain it in English. Which is really complicated because you're trying to take all these, I mean, just the word gay itself has changed so much in the past 50, 100 years. Imagine through every single language and every single culture and trying to come to one unified idea of this is queerness and trying to get that around the world to every single language and culture. That gets tricky. I've learned how to better do it since, but it is.
Well, now I can understand why so I asked Tomas if it was translated into French because Ottawa is a bilingual city. And now I understand that could have been really problematic, or if you do ever translate it, I could see how translating all those terms again into another language could be quite a project.
It is tricky. And in fact, Queer Magic is the one book that hasn't had too many language translations, possibly because of that.
This is another question from the group. Someone noticed that you divided the book by regions mostly, and they're wondering if you traveled to all of those places in order to look for more information, or if it was, well, that's their question, so I'll leave it there. Did you travel to all the places, or?
No, I did not. What I did was I've been to a lot of places, and I've lived all over North and South America, everywhere from Los Angeles and Reno to Santiago de Chile and the Amazon jungle for a while. So I've been up and down this hemisphere, but the other places, I have to rely on friends and people I know that live around the world. And of course, living in Los Angeles, you can very easily meet people who also live in other parts of the world or have lived there. I mean, it's a huge city, huge metropolitan city. And you just make friends and you talk and you take their experiences and you look at the trustworthy sources and you put two and two together. But the biggest thing is that you start seeing a lot of patterns. So where you can pick out where something deviates from that pattern, and it's probably not true. And then like those tests that make you take of what is the missing number here? What follows next? And you can kind of figure it out. But no, I have not traveled all over the world, but I have my connections.
And thank you for that. The next question we have is, what are the main positive and negative social roles that religion and spirituality assign to LGBTQ plus?
I think I think it's the same thing, actually. It's that sense of otherness. It's that sense of not being this or that and being able to cross, beyond the binary, live in this liminal space of unknown. And people saw that, especially in ancient times, as being in touch with the higher power. Like, oh, look at this person. They're not quite man, but they're not quite woman. They must have some magical powers. They must be in touch with something else so they can understand both. Therefore, they can reach the divine. They can reach into the underworld. They can pierce the veil. So they have magical powers, and that's great. But at the other time, they're different. They're not like us. They don't live in a solid space. They don't have consistency. They don't have stability. So that very differentness and liminality is a blessing and a curse, as seen from the hetero lens.
I never would have thought of it that way. Thank you for that answer. What can we learn from religious, spiritual traditions regarding better inclusion in our current society?
There's nothing, anything you can't learn anywhere that you can't learn just by interacting with friends or being alone in a room with your thoughts. I mean, if you, it, it's interesting because this is before the book is being read, so it's like a fun, foreshadowing of things to come. But what you'll see is that a lot of the same things that dictate everything else in life has dictated religion and queerness. I mean, social climbing, positions of power. Does it help some people as a tool in some way? Power plays. All of those come into things. And so if is queerness accepted, it's because it serves the higher powers that be. If it's not, that's because having it not serves the powers that be. I mean, it's politics and economy have ruled the world since we've been in it. So it's just that don't look to organized religion for this because they've all changed. There's no consistency. But humans have been humans. So if you can understand your most basic nature at your most primal self with all the social contract stuff out the window, you understand everyone.
And then this next one, let me just read this. It's a little long. I think the gist of the question is, what place does spirituality have when it feels like gay culture is scrutinized because of a lack of morals? So basically, identifying as a spiritual person while being queer as well, I think is the way I understand that question.
Again, it's in this is the main thing I learned from really the exploration and something I live by every day now. It's you are bound by the limits you place on yourself. I mean, there's no box other than what you want to. And a lot of people, especially queer people who have not been accepted and always been outside, I mean, it's human nature too, of just wanting to belong to a social group, wanting to be a part of something bigger than you. And so in order to be a part of a group, you have to lineate yourself in what you are. You have to put yourself in a certain category. Like even this label I have on my Zoom interview, he, him. I am saying that present myself as, a male, masculine. I consider myself a queer, gay male attracted to other, males. And just by doing that alone, I have put myself in this box where I'm accepted within the limits of it. But I also am, when you say you are something, you are also saying that you are not everything that is not a part of that. So by saying I'm a man, I box myself in that. I am not anything else. I have no power outside of that. I can't reach, I can't understand because I said I am this and I am not anything else. But by not having labels, by letting the mystery be and being comfortable with not being anything, you are everything. And you reach a certain special power. And in the book, one tribe that gets into that is the Chukchi tribe up in Siberia. And they have their shamans and they have their male shamans who are in touch with masculine powers and females in touch with femininity and feminine powers. And then you have the queer shamans who are in touch with both. But then you have the shamans that don't label themselves any way, gender, sexuality, anything, nothing. They're just blank slates and they're okay with it. And they're the most feared because they have all the powers of the universe. They can tap into everything and anything because they don't limit themselves in any boxes. And I've really started living myself like that too. I mean, I am aware I have to present myself because I'm aware of how this society works and, how to function in it. But I stopped being all labels on myself. I stopped trying to fit in a box. I stopped trying to fit in or say I'm this and that. It doesn't matter. And it's so freeing because I feel like I'm in touch with everything. But that's the answer to that question.
It's a beautiful answer. That really, really, really touched me. How can queer spirituality help find a more accepting self-love? So how can queer spirituality help us find a more accepting self-love?
Love yourself. Everything you see, I firmly believe this. Everything you see in another person, it's you pushed outward. if you're someone who lies a lot, you're more suspicious of other people lying. If you steal, you're worried about your stuff having stolen because you are aware of that darkness within you, so you can more readily see it in the world. And the thing that most bothers you about other people is probably something that you do. So just fix yourself. Michael Jackson's, the man in the mirror. Help that person understand it, because then if you're not troubled, you don't have angst, you don't have all these problems, then you can better help the world. I mean, you cannot be lonely enough to help someone in relationship advice. You cannot be sick enough to help someone heal. You cannot be angry enough to help the world and inspire it. You have to help yourself if you want to be of any use. And if everyone's like that, then they can help each other a lot better.
Wonderful. Thank you. I think that is kind of the general question from the group that we got. So where are we with time? I guess, is there anything that you want to summarize from the questions while we're still recording?
Sure. Hold on. My light source. It all comes down to having an open mind and not being judgmental, because a lot of people, because everything that you believe is true, the way other people see it probably isn't true. And facts can be used to prove anything. You can't convince people with logic. You cannot convince people with words. You can kind of convince them with actions, but the only thing people really resonate with are emotions, and how you make people feel really teach most everything. I mean, look at your favorite TV show, comic books, or any fictional. How many times has a fictional character shaped us and imparted morals and ethics and the way we interact with the world and see the world and want the world to be, more than real people that we have actually met? And it's because it touched you on an emotional level. So if you want to help others, you want to create a better queer community, you have to reach people on an emotional level. You cannot teach them, you cannot educate them. You have to make them feel better. And if you want to make them feel better, you have to feel better. Ain't no one wants some angry person, telling them what's what. Ain't no one wants some sad person telling them, what's what. No, you need to be good in yourself. You need to love yourself. You need to accept yourself if you want to help others. And it all comes down to that. At least the way I see it. Because again, everything's subjective. So, but that's what I believe. At least if you want my stance on things, that's how I believe world peace happens.
Perfect. That's beautiful. So since we're going to end the recording portion again, I just want to thank Tomás for being with us, and I'll show off the book again that we're going to be studying. So our little group is going to be reading this book together for 4 more sessions and doing some. One of the things I really like about the book is the I forget what they're called, but like the little activities or learning experiences.
Yes.
I mean, like, that's one reason, like, I was drawn to the book anyway, and then it kind of helped me inform the group. It's almost like a textbook in a way, or it's just, so I'm really looking forward to exploring some of those activities with the group. And I want to thank you again for taking the time to meet with us. So we're going to take a short break. We're going to end the recorded portion of this event, and then we're going to come back and have a private conversation with the members of the group. So let's take our 5-minute break now, and I'll see you in a few minutes.